So today we're talking about Rick and Morty. If you didn't know, Rick and Morty season 6 just dropped and episode 1 was absolutely fire. So let's get it. Let's talk about it. So the scene opens up from last season. We see Rick and Morty stranded on a destroyed Citadel with no food or water. Pretty much just waiting to die. So Rick asks Morty to write down his monologue and he throws a shot at Tony Stark. Endgame part 2 when he was talking into his helmet recording in there.
Morty, I told you to write this down. I don't have a helmet like that Avengers guy did.
And I know what you're thinking. What about a portal gun? Well, that's where this comes in.
The gun's still broken. Guess that was all part of Evil Morty's plan. Evil Morty, can we stop flattering this guy?
And just when they've made peace with their death, guess who shows up? Space Beth shows up to save them. Been a while since we've seen her. So when Space Beth shows up, she tells a corny little joke. It was funny. I laughed. I like corny jokes. But Rick and Morty, given the state they're in is understandable, they don't take it well.
Great, yeah, that's wow. Really worth it. That was not worth it. It's corny. You, corn, dying of starvation here.
And let's be honest, are they being jerks? Sure, but in their defense, if you were dying from starvation, no water, forced to drink your pee, I feel like a lot of jokes probably wouldn't do it for you. The opening was awesome. With each season, it's still the same song theme, but they switched the visuals. And so we first see a giant sugar glider. It's like a giant Pokemon. Then we see Rick and Morty in England, and they're talking to Jack the Ripper, I'm guessing. Then there's a giant Rick-shaped balloon in what looks like New York, some kind of Citadel, some kind of place, not a Citadel. And then we see Jerry just taking a big L in an Iron Man costume. And finally, we see Morty as a giant stick of butter. And plenty of other things, honestly, I probably miss. Let me know in the comment section what else you guys noticed. So Space Beth drives him back to Earth. And just before Morty's about to scarf down on some sandwiches, I don't blame him. Man's been starving. Rick warns him that their system could go into shock. And brings out a robot called Digestabot, which, as you can guess, does...
The bot, convert to nutrient mass.
So Rick tries to reboot the portal index, but he messes up.
Oh shit. Wait, what? What's up?
And instead of rebooting the portal index, he reboots all portal travelers. This pretty much means that all the copies of the characters who aren't originally from their Earths will be sent back there, or their own timelines. And Morty and Rick are glowing as expected because they're from another timeline. But surprisingly, Jerry actually starts glowing, which confirms that during the daycare episode, towards the end, when they were just taking Jerry's, Rick grabbed the wrong Jerry. And I'm sure he gives absolutely no crap. Before returning to Earth, his Earth, Rick explains to Summer,
Summer, 3 of us are one-way blind hopping. You gotta help us get back. There's a protocol for this in your chore server. File name Booger AIDS.
Every file is Booger AIDS.
I hate naming things. Just search for words like one-way blind hop, reset nav beacon. Why do I have...
Why are all of his files, why do they all have the name Booger AIDS? The smartest man in the universe. So Beth asked the question about what happened to the original Rick and Morty from their world. And I don't know if you guys remember, but of course, they were buried in the backyard in season 1. They were the ones that originally died after, what was it, season 1, episode 9. They solved the Cronenberg mutation. But in that timeline, after they solved it, they just died. So our original Rick and Morty hopped to that timeline instead. Summer starts the process of bringing them back and reveals that Rick gave her...
Morty's an easy mark, but Rick pays me in things like Wolverine claws. Well, look.
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty awesome. Wolverine claws. Well, not exactly Wolverine, but the other one. I forget. Let me know in the comment section if you know what I'm talking about. She has 2 claws, super ferocious. But anyway, so Summer has to go to the Citadel in order to bring Rick and Morty and Jerry back. She convinces Space Beth to go with them.
Or you could stick around for this one. Looks like it involves Grandpa's grody Citadel. We could, break things, loot stuff.
Oh, and also Beth tags along. They're not as enthusiastic about regular Earth Beth tagging along though. So Rick is now back in his original Earth. And we find out that the memory from Season 3, Episode 1, Ring Shack Redemption, about Rick Prime coming in and just, our Rick refusing it, saying he's happy with what he has. The dude opens up a portal, drops a bomb, and ends up killing Rick's wife and a 4-year-old Beth. That was actually true. That's crazy. And we're introduced to Rick's wife's voice, Diane, which turns out to be...
Rick, is that you?
Yeah, Diane.
You've been gone so long. Did you find our daughter's killer?
Not yet, sorry. Still looking.
You'll find him. You always do everything you set your mind to. Except keep your family alive, but that was hardly your fault.
So Rick felt so guilty about Diane and Beth dying that he made a machine in Diane's voice just to remind him each time he was home. That is some sick form of self-torture. And to make things worse, he designed a machine to always be calling from the next room.
Up the search in your absence. You want a new list of potential locations?
You're always just one room away, huh?
Yeah, remember? You thought if you could see or touch me, it might give you a level of comfort.
Right.
So Rick designed it so he can always hear his voice, his wife's voice. But he can never hold her, he can never touch her. And honestly, that's just some sick form of personal hell. And it's tough seeing Rick like that. But I couldn't help but laugh at some of Diane's scenes because she was just... It's like when someone is unintentionally being a douche, it's not even their fault. Like, she's offensively funny, if that makes sense. Like, example, like this.
Don't give up on us, Rick. I don't make the rules. Haunter's gonna haunt.
So we see that Morty has been sent back to his Cronenberg world, which is still destroyed. And after escaping from a monster, one of the monsters on there, he meets his dad, Jerry from that world. And Jerry's looking badass. He looks like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings started hitting the gym. I don't know if that makes like that's what he just looks. Jerry looks cool. Summer and her two moms arrive on the Citadel, and they meet.
So tight, little scavenger dudes. If they shoot at us, I'm allowed to do this. Yeah.
As you can see, Summer's going off with her Wolverine claws. Space Beth is a badass, of course, goes off too. And Earth Beth participates. Let me put it like that. She tries her best. All right, so back to Morty and Buff Jerry. Jerry reveals that back in Rickshaw Redemption, when they got frozen, his family got frozen. Things didn't really end well. Both Summer and Beth ended up dying. Beth got sick and Summer didn't really thaw right out of the ice. Who knows what that could mean? Probably didn't look pretty. And we actually get to see Jerry's character development.
With no one left to blame, I finally had to deal with myself. Buried my grief at Barnes & Noble. 4 agreements, Eat, Pray, Love, Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. Learn to accept things for what they are.
Jerry's a badass now. He's calm, he's competent, and he seems to be finally at peace with himself. And like Morty noted, like, my man's like Jerry, one of the most incompetent characters in Rick and Morty, actually survived an apocalypse. I don't think I could do that. So Morty tries to bond with Jerry, catch up after abandoning him over a board game called Downbeat. When Morty goes upstairs to grab it, though, Jerry leaves him a hilarious note and bails. He also steals like all of Morty's stuff. Morty eventually catches up to him, and we get to see how Jerry feels about, really feels about Morty after he abandoned him.
Oh, am I cool enough for you now? Well, that was easy. It only cost me fucking everything.
Whoa, hey,
You came back and talked about us like we weren't people, Morty. Then you bailed and left us to freeze.
I was apologizing for that earlier.
Your mom and sister died, Morty. And I moved on.
Damn. What a line. And I like the parallels the creators draw between the most incompetent man, Jerry, and the most competent man, Rick. Rick still continues to struggle to move on despite, being the smartest man in the universe. But Jerry just worked with the limited amount of resources he had, and he's finally able to move on.
Except for this conversation, my life is perfect. Rick was always right. Everyone needs to let go.
Alright, so as Rick travels throughout the wormhole, haunting robot Diane explains that...
Baby, something to keep in mind. If you were pulled home by whatever happened, it's likely our target was as well.
This, of course, is referring to Rick Prime. The original Rick, who our Rick has been tracking down after Rick Prime kills our Rick's wife and daughter. So Rick links up back with Morty and finally tracks down Rick Prime, and they arrive at a really cool spaceship.
Oh, you found me! I shoot the first monitor too. Listen, I'm not here. Or am I?
Rick Prime has a pre-recorded message on the spaceship where he pretty much is just being a dick the whole time. He's just pretty much taunting Rick. There's even like a naked version of Rick Prime in a test tube. This big test tube. And he claims that it could be him, or it could also be a clone. Just trying to fuck with Rick and just keep him guessing.
Tell you what. Look, there he goes. Maybe that actually was me.
So Rick starts fighting Rick Prime's death bots. It's a really cool fight sequence. It's got like laser tentacles. Like it's a pretty good fight. And Rick Prime drops the Rick Prime in the test tube down and taunts Rick to follow him. But Morty warns Rick that it's a trap. That if he goes through with it, he's going to kill him.
This is an obvious trap. If you go down there, he's just going to kill you. Good.
It's kind of sad because it almost seems like Rick wants to die. Morty tries talking sense into Rick, appeals to his emotions, and he makes a big callback. Season 1, episode 1. Rick and Morty, 100 years.
I don't know him. You're my grandpa, Rick. Rick and Morty, 100 years. This place totally might go.
Meanwhile, back at the Citadel, Summer and her moms are about to take on this big monster that crawled through the wormhole, and all of a sudden Rick shows up to save them. He ended up taking Morty's advice. Rick and Morty, 100 years. Hopefully 100 seasons. Might be too much. Lots of seasons. We like Rick and Morty. Lots of seasons. So the family goes back to get their Jerry, who remember also got teleported at the beginning of the episode. It's funny because I've been talking about Badass Jerry so much, I actually forgot about our original Jerry. But anyway, so it turns out the timeline this Jerry went to was back in season 2. And if you remember season 2, his relationship with Beth was super bad. Like the family Rick didn't even tolerate him then. The family was just super toxic. And when they come together, he realizes, family isn't about which original timeline, Earth, or universe you're part of. It's about the people who go out of their way, to help you. Hence, this family. And it was a sweet, touching moment. He realizes that, he cares about, even though they're not his original family, he cares about them, which is pretty cool. So,
I may technically be from here, but I'm a goddamn interdimensional traveler now, and all of you can kiss my sci-fi ass.
We finally go back to our Earth, where the story originally started from, and we see season 2 Jerry. The two Jerry swap places, and we get to meet, hands down, a top contender for one of my favorite characters, Mr. Frumbles.
Who I found in Rick's room.
I'm Mr. Frundle.
I don't care how cute he is. We agreed, no boogans in the house.
Wait, season 2, Jerry, don't.
Mr. Frundles.
Everybody in the car. I'm Mr. Frundle.
Wait, but I thought...
Mr. Frumbles, while adorable, is absolutely terrifying. So if Mr. Frumbles bites you, it turns you into a Mr. Frumbles, and that's pretty much how they spread. It gets so bad that it eventually ends up taking over the entire Earth, and just turns it into a just a giant Mr. Frumbles, and the family is forced to relocate to a different timeline, where they reenact the scene from season 1, episode 9.
The exact same as our old timeline, even my stuff.
Bit of a rush job, actually, so they do say Parmesan weird. How do they say Parmesan?
Instead of just Rick and Morty burying their bodies, this time they all bury their versions of each other. Morty gives Beth a tip to lift with her legs. He's done this before, countless times. He's giving advice. And apparently in this new timeline, the only big difference with their old one is they pronounce Parmesan wrong. They pronounce it like Parmesan. And the family bitches, but that's how the episode ends. And honestly, it was a really good episode. I plan to cover more Rick and Morty content, so if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. I know I gotta get the audio fixed. We're working on upgrading, but thank you.